There's a moment in everyone's life when they realize that complaining has become a habit, like breathing. You don't even notice it anymore. You complain about the weather, your job, your friends, your life, your luck. You complain about how things should have gone, how people should have treated you, how success should have come by now. And slowly, without realizing it, your words become your prison. You start to build walls around yourself made of negativity, self-pity, and frustration. You start feeding the very energy that's been holding you back. Every complaint you speak is a brick in the cage you live in, and the scariest part, you're the one building it. But here's the truth no one wants to admit. Complaining is easy because it lets you escape responsibility. It's easier to say your life isn't fair than to face the truth that you stop being grateful for the things that are working. It's easier to talk about problems than to take action. Complaining gives temporary comfort. It feels like release, but it kills progress. It's a silent poison that robs you of power, focus, and growth. Every time you open your mouth to complain, you close the door on gratitude, and gratitude is where strength lives. You see, the human mind is wired to find what it focuses on. If you focus on what's missing, your mind will only see lack. If you focus on what's wrong, you'll attract more chaos. But when you shift your focus, when you start counting blessings instead of burdens, you begin to reprogram your entire life. You stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the author of your destiny, because gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a mental transformation. It changes how you see, how you think, how you live. The reason you're stuck isn't because you don't have enough. It's because you've forgotten how to appreciate what you already have. You keep waiting for it before you feel grateful. More money, more time, more love, more recognition. But that mindset keeps you empty. The richest people aren't the ones with everything. They're the ones who can look at the little they have and still feel blessed. Gratitude unlocks the next level of life. It gives you peace in chaos, joy in struggle, and strength in pain. So today, I'm not asking you to be positive. I'm challenging you to be aware of how powerful your perspective is, aware of how much energy you waste complaining about what you can't instead of appreciating what you can control. This message isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's about realizing that everything you need to start winning is already in your hands. The power, the opportunity, the potential, it's all there. You just have to stop complaining long enough to see it. One, every word you speak carries energy. Every sentence you form creates direction. The way you talk about your life is the way your life starts to unfold. When you constantly complain, when you speak with frustration, when every thought that leaves your mouth is drenched in negativity, you're not just describing your reality, you're designing it. You are telling the universe what to deliver next. You are programming your mind to expect more of what you already dislike. And when your mind expects more pain, more struggle, more lack, that's exactly what it begins to look for. You start filtering out opportunities and only seeing obstacles. You start silencing gratitude and amplifying anger. You start drowning in your own words. You need to understand that words are not harmless. They are not just sounds. They are blueprints. They build the foundation of how you see yourself and how you respond to the world around you. If all you do is complain about your job, your relationships, your circumstances, then even when something good shows up, your mind will twist it into another reason to be unhappy, because you've trained yourself to find what's wrong instead of what's right. You've turned your speech into a weapon against your own peace. That's why so many people stay stuck. They think the world is punishing them, but the truth is their tongue is their prison. Every time they open their mouth, they reinforce the chains. When you start changing your words, you start changing your reality. The moment you stop saying, I can't, and start saying, I'm learning, you begin to move. The moment you stop saying nothing ever works for me and start saying, I'm getting closer every day, your energy starts to attract better things. You have to start speaking in alignment with the life you want, not the one you're trying to escape. Speak victory even when you're surrounded by loss. Speak growth even when you're under pressure. Speak blessings even when you feel broken. Because what you say during your lowest moments determine how fast you rise. Think about it. Every successful person you've ever admired went through pain. But you didn't hear them complaining about it every day. They spoke about lessons, not losses. They spoke about purpose. not problems. They didn't let their tongue become the echo of their suffering. They made it the anthem of their comeback. You have to do the same. You have to become aware of the way you talk when no one's listening. What do you tell yourself when you wake up? What words do you feed your mind before bed? If it's negativity, if it's self-pity, if it's blame, then you're watering weeds. But if it's gratitude, if it's focus, if it's faith, then you're growing gardens. You can't control everything that happens to you, but you can control the narrative you attach to it. You can decide that every setback is a setup for strength. You can decide that every delay is a lesson in patience. You can decide that nothing is wasted because you refuse to let your words label you as defeated. That's where the real power lies, in the decision to speak differently even when your reality hasn't caught up yet. People think gratitude is something you feel after things go right. No. Gratitude is something you practice so things can go right. Gratitude shifts your language from desperation to determination. It transforms the way you process pain. It gives meaning to moments that would otherwise break you. Start catching yourself when you complain. Listen to the tone you use when you talk about your life. Every "I'm tired," every "I can't take this anymore," every "nothing ever changes," another brick in the wall between you and your potential. Break it down, one word at a time. Replace "I'm tired" with "I'm thankful I get to try again." Replace the "nothing changes" with "I'm changing," and that's what matters. Replace "I can't" with "He'll find a way." Those small shifts in language create massive shifts in mindset. And once your mindset changes, your entire world starts to realign with it. You have to understand your brain listens to everything you say. It doesn't know the difference between truth and exaggeration. It believes whatever you repeat. So, if you constantly tell yourself you're unlucky, it will start noticing every piece of bad luck around you and ignore the blessings. But if you tell yourself you're favored, if you remind yourself that good things are happening for you even when you can't see them yet, your mind begins to find evidence of that. You start noticing progress. You start noticing blessings you used to overlook. You start living in abundance instead of scarcity. Your words are commands to your spirit. They tell your emotions what to feel and your body how to move. That's why people who speak in faith act differently. They walk with confidence even in uncertainty. They smile in storm because they know the storm is temporary. That confidence, that unwavering focus creates results. You become magnetic when your language reflects belief instead of fear. People start responding to you differently. Opportunities begin to notice you. It means saying, I might not be where I want to be, but thank God I'm not where I used to be. It means learning how to extract lessons from pain, how to find purpose in struggle, and how to find purpose in struggle, and how to turn every loss into something that refines you. Every time you face something difficult, you have two choices: complain about it or learn from it. One drains you, the other develops you. The people who win in life aren't the ones with no problems. They're the ones who stopped whining and started working. You have to make gratitude your default setting. When something goes wrong, instead of asking a "why me?" start asking a "what is this teaching me?" That shift changes everything. It takes you out of the mindset of a victim and puts you into the mindset of a creator. Because the moment you look for the lesson, you're already growing. You're already using your pain to become stronger. You're already turning what was meant to break you into something that builds you. That's what gratitude does. It transforms suffering into strength. You might think it's hard to be grateful when you're struggling, but that's exactly when it matters most. Anyone can be thankful when everything's going right. The real test of character is whether you can still find appreciation in the middle of chaos. Because gratitude in hard times doesn't just change how you feel. It changes who you are. It builds endurance, humility, and faith. It gives you the power to look at darkness and still say, "Now there's light here somewhere." And once you find that light, no circumstance can truly destroy you again. Complaining has never changed a single thing for the better. It never solved a problem, never opened a door, never built a dream. But gratitude has rebuilt lives. Gratitude has saved relationships. Gratitude has taken people from nothing and turned them into something unstoppable because they stopped counting what they lacked and started counting what they could use. When you focus on what you have, you activate creativity. You find ways to multiply it. You start seeing potential in every place others see limitation. That's how winners think. They don't waste time talking about the storm. They look for the rain they can use to grow. There's something powerful about saying thank you even when you don't feel like it. Because when you do, you're telling the universe, I see what you've already done for me. And when you can recognize the blessings that are already here, life gives you more. Not because of luck, but because of alignment. You're operating from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. You're no longer chasing happiness. You're building it from within. Gratitude creates momentum. It fuels action. It makes you want to take care of what you have. And in doing so, it naturally attracts more. Think about it. The person who complains about their job will never grow in it. But the one who's grateful for the opportunity to learn something new will always find a way to rise. The person who complains about how tired they are will never get stronger. But the one who says, I'm tired, but I'm thankful I get to work towards something, keeps pushing forward. That's the difference between stagnation and transformation. It's not about what happens to you. It's about how you choose to see it. When you start counting your blessings, even the smallest things start to shine. The food on your plate, the people who believe in you, the chance to wake up and try again. These things aren't small, they're sacred. They're the foundation of every success story you'll ever build. But most people miss it because they're too busy comparing their chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Gratitude kills comparison. It silences envy. It reminds you that your journey is your own, and that where you are today can still lead to somewhere incredible if you stop complaining long enough to see the path. So stop speaking as if your life is cursed. Stop letting your tongue declare defeat before the battle even begins. You are alive. You are capable. You are still breathing. As long as you're breathing, there's more for you to experience, more to learn, more to give. Gratitude is how you unlock it. It's how you see life, not as something that's happening to you, but something that's happening for you. Every breath is a blessing. Every moment is an opportunity. And every day is another chance to prove that no matter what happens, you're still grateful enough to keep going. That's where the real power lies. Gratitude is not weakness, strength. It's the mindset of warriors who've learned that complaining changes nothing, but appreciation changes everything. When you stop looking for what's missing and start valuing what's present, you rise above the noise. You start seeing the beauty in your struggle, the purpose in your pain, and the potential in every single moment. Life becomes lighter, your focus becomes sharper, and your spirit becomes unshakable. Because gratitude doesn't just change what you have, it changes who you are. 3, you can't move forward in life if your eyes are always locked on what you don't have. That's the trap most people fall into. They obsess over what's missing, what's broken, what didn't work out, and because that's all they focus on, that's all they can see. They live in a constant loop of frustration, always feeling like something's wrong, always chasing something more. But the truth is, peace doesn't come from having everything you want. It comes from realizing how much you already have and deciding to use it fully. Gratitude isn't about pretending everything's perfect. It's about focusing on what's possible with what you've got. When you shift your attention from lack to abundance, everything around you starts to change. Your energy changes, your attitude changes, even your decisions change. Because now, instead of complaining about what's missing, you're creating with what's present. You stop saying, I can't, because I don't have, and start saying, I will, because I still can. That's the difference between being stuck and being unstoppable. The people who make it far in life aren't the ones who have everything. They're the ones who learn how to use anything. They see potential where others see limitation. They turn what's small into something significant because their focus is on what's possible, not what's missing. Every time you focus on what you lack, you drain your own strength. You tell your mind that you're not enough, that your situation isn't enough, that life has somehow shortchanged you. And once you start believing that, you stop trying. But the truth is, no one ever reached greatness by complaining about what they didn't have. They reached greatness by using what was already in their hands. You can't move forward staring at a closed door. You move forward when you realize there's another one open, but you'll never see it if you're too busy complaining about the one that's shut. Gratitude opens your eyes to possibilities that complaining blinds you from. It's like switching on a light in a dark room. suddenly you start noticing what's been there all along. The support you've ignored, the lessons hidden inside the pain, the strength you didn't know you had. When you start counting blessings, your perspective widens. You start realizing that every problem you faced taught you something. Every delay redirected you, and every closed door protected you. The things that once felt like setbacks start looking like setups. That's what happens when you choose to see life through the lens of gratitude. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming a creator of change. The world is full of people who live in misery, not because they don't have enough, but because they never stop to appreciate what they do have. They think joy will come when they get the promotion, when they buy the car, when they find the relationship. But the truth is, joy doesn't come from getting more. It comes from realizing you already have more than enough to be grateful for. When you live with that kind of awareness, your heart stays full, even when your hands aren't. That's the secret to real peace. Not the absence of struggle, but the presence of gratitude through it. When you focus on what's possible, you awaken the problem solver inside you. Suddenly, challenges don't feel impossible anymore. They become opportunities to test your creativity. You start thinking differently. You start acting differently. You start moving differently. You start moving differently because now instead of waiting for something to change, you become the change. Gratitude fuels action. It gives you a reason to keep going because it reminds you that you already have something worth building on. The more you appreciate what's in your life, the more energy you have to improve it. That's why grateful people tend to grow faster. Not because life is easier for them, but because they see opportunity where others only see excuses. Let's be real. Focusing on what's missing is easy. It's automatic. The mind naturally looks for problems because it's wired to protect you from danger. But if you don't train it, that same instinct becomes a curse. You'll start seeing danger in every situation, failure in every attempt, and scarcity in every moment. Gratitude is how you rewire that pattern. It's how you tell your brain, I'm safe, I'm capable, I'm blessed. When you do that long enough, you start living in a state of abundance instead of anxiety. You start expecting good things instead of waiting for bad ones. That's when life begins to change. Think about it. The people who constantly talk about what they don't have are the ones who never move forward. They're too focused on the gap to build the bridge. But those who appreciate what's already within reach find ways to create more. Gratitude turns your attention into power. It takes your focus off the problem and puts it on the solution. That's the mindset that separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers complain about what's missing. Doers work with what's present. Gratitude doesn't mean you stop striving for more. It means you start striving from a place of fullness, not emptiness. There's a big difference. When you chase success because you feel incomplete, you'll never feel satisfied no matter how much you achieve. But when you chase success out of gratitude, out of the joy of creating, serving, and growing, you become unstoppable. Because now you're not trying to fill a void, you're expressing abundance. Gratitude gives meaning to your goals. It reminds you that the journey itself is a gift, not just a destination. You have to understand that what you focus on grows. If you focus on lack, you'll see more lack. If you focus on blessing, you'll see more blessings. That's not magic. That's focus. The mind amplifies whatever you feed it. If you wake up every morning thinking about what's missing, life will keep showing you more reasons to feel empty. But if you wake up counting what's already right, your health, your breath, your family, your chances, life will keep expanding in that direction. Gratitude isn't about ignoring pain. It's about refusing to let pain be the whole story. It's about saying, yeah, I've got problems, but I've also got purpose. I've got struggles, but I've also got strength. Every successful person you admire learned how to see possibilities where others saw dead ends. That vision came from gratitude. They stopped wasting energy complaining and started channeling it into creating. You can do the same. The next time you catch yourself thinking about what you don't have, pause and ask, what can I do with what I do have? That simple shift can change everything. It can turn frustration into focus, pain into purpose, and obstacles into opportunities. The truth is, life will never give you everything at once, but it will always give you enough to start, enough to build, enough to grow. Whether or not you see it depends on where you choose to look. Complaining closes your eyes. Gratitude opens them. And once your eyes are open, you start realizing that you were never as limited as you thought. You just needed to change your focus. The moment you do, the world opens up to you. Not because it suddenly got better, but because you did. You started seeing what was possible, and that's where everything begins. 4, every single person in this world goes through pain. Nobody escapes it. But the difference between the ones who rise and the ones who fall is how they choose to handle it. Some people take their pain and turn it into complaints, into excuses, into self-pity. Others take that same pain and turn it into purpose, power, and growth. Pain is not what destroys you. Your response to it is. You can keep talking about how unfair life is, how people hurt you, how nothing seems to work in your favor, or you can stand up and decide that your pain won't be wasted. Every scar, every heartbreak, every disappointment is raw material. What you build with it is up to you. When you keep complaining about your pain, you're keeping yourself chained to it. You're living in it over and over again, feeding it power, letting it define your story. You relive the hurt every time you talk about it instead of healing from it. But when you stop complaining, when you look that pain dead in the eye and say, "You will not break me," that's when everything changes. That's when your pain starts working for you instead of against you. Because pain, when understood and accepted, becomes one of life's greatest teachers. It shows you what needs to change, what needs to heal, what needs to be built stronger next time. You have to realize something. Pain was never meant to be the end of your story. It was meant to be the beginning of your strength. The people who've achieved greatness didn't do it because life spared them. They did it because they stopped complaining long enough to learn from what hurt them. They turned heartbreak into hunger. They turned disappointment into discipline. They turned every why me into watch me. Pain gave them perspective, focus, and drive. It pushed them to grow in ways comfort never could. Complaining could have kept them stuck, but instead they made a choice to stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. When you stop complaining, you start growing. You start noticing the lessons hidden in every difficult moment. You start realizing that pain forces you to pay attention. It exposes what's weak in you so you can strengthen it. It reveals what's fake around you so you can remove it. Pain strips away everything unnecessary until all that's left is the truth. That's not something to complain about. That's something to thank life for. Because without pain, you stay the same. You never push harder, never dig deeper, never evolve. Pain is not your enemy. Stagnation is. Think about it. The gym hurts, but it builds you. Growth hurts, but it transforms you. The same principle applies to life. The struggle is not there to stop you. It's there to stretch you. Complaining keeps you focused on the pain, but purpose keeps you focused on the outcome. You can't grow when all you do is talk about how bad it feels. Growth requires silence, discipline, and reflection. It requires you to stop asking, "Why did this happen to me?" and start asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" That one shift in mindset turns pain into power. It takes you from feeling helpless to being unstoppable. The truth is, complaining about pain makes you soft. It makes you feel like a victim instead of a fighter. It gives you sympathy from others, but takes away your strength from within. You don't need pity. You need purpose. You don't need comfort. You need clarity. You don't need to talk about how unfair life is. You need to remind yourself that you are still here, still breathing, still capable of turning this pain into something great. Every great transformation begins in a season of pain, and those who come out stronger are the ones who stop using that pain as a reason to quit. You might be broken, but broken things can still build something powerful if you stop wasting time complaining about the cracks. You're not supposed to stay hurt forever. Pain comes to wake you up, to shake you, to strip away everything that isn't aligned with who you're meant to become. But if all you do is complain, you'll never learn the lesson it came to teach. You'll stay stuck in the same cycle, repeating the same mistakes, feeling the same hurt, and wondering why nothing changes. You have to stop feeding your pain with your words. Stop replaying your suffering like it's your identity. Start using it as your fuel. When you stop complaining about your pain, you start noticing how powerful you really are. You start realizing that you've survived things you once thought would destroy you. You start trusting yourself more because you see that no matter how hard life hits, you still get back up. That kind of strength can't be faked. It's earned. It's forged in silence, in struggle, in nights where you could have complained but chose to keep going instead. Every time you push through instead of breaking down, you build another layer of resilience. Every time you stay focused instead of frustrated, you become a little more unstoppable. Pain gives you two choices, to shrink or to evolve. If you complain, you shrink. If you learn, you evolve. That's the line between weakness and strength, between excuses and execution. Complaining might make you feel better for a moment, but it leaves you powerless. Growth hurts for a while, but it leaves you unshakable. You have to decide which version of yourself you're trying to build. Because every time you complain, you're building the version of you that gives up. And every time you push through, you're building the version of you that wins. The truth is, nobody cares about your excuses as much as they care about your results. You can talk about how hard it's been, or you can show the world how hard you work through it. Complaining doesn't get you sympathy for long. Eventually, people stop listening. But when you take your pain and turn it into progress, when you let your results speak for themselves, the same people who doubted you will have no choice but to respect you. Pain can be your greatest source of credibility if you let it shape you instead of silence you. Every successful person carries scars. Every strong person has been broken. The difference is they didn't let their pain make them bitter. They let it make them better. They stopped seeing pain as something to avoid and started seeing it as a signal that they were growing, evolving, and becoming more. You can either let pain be the reason you stop or the reason you start again stronger. You can either complain about what happened or you can build from it. The pain you're facing right now is not the end. It's the evidence that you're still in the fight. So stop complaining about how heavy it feels. That weight is what's building your strength. Stop complaining about how unfair it is. Life isn't supposed to be fair. It's supposed to forge you. Stop complaining about who hurt you. They were part of the process that woke you up to who you need to become. Pain will visit everyone, but growth only comes to those who refuse to complain about it. The next time life hurts, don't run to the world for comfort. Run to your purpose for direction. Tell yourself, this pain has a message and I'm going to find it. Because the moment you stop complaining and start learning, you stop suffering and start transforming. That's the moment when pain becomes purpose. That's the moment when everything changes. You stop being a victim of your past and become a master of your future. You start moving from frustration to focus, from breakdowns to breakthroughs. The world may never stop testing you, but once you stop complaining about it, nothing in that world will ever be able to break you again. 5. The more you complain, the smaller your world becomes. You stop seeing opportunities because your mind is too busy finding problems. You stop appreciating what's working because you're obsessed with what's not. Gratitude, on the other hand, expands your world. It opens your eyes to possibilities, to growth, to blessings that were already around you, but you were too blind to notice. When you start counting your blessings instead of your problems, something powerful happens. Your energy shifts. You stop being a victim and start becoming a creator. You stop focusing on what you lack and begin to see what you already had as the foundation for building something greater. That's the shift that changes everything. Not just your circumstances, but your character. Complaining weakens your spirit, but gratitude strengthens it. You have to understand something. Your life is not as empty as your complaints make it sound. The truth is there's someone out there praying for the life you're living right now. Someone is begging for the job you hate. Someone is wishing for the health you take for granted. Someone is dreaming of having even half the opportunities you overlook every single day. When you start seeing your blessings clearly, your attitude changes instantly. You stop walking around like the world owes you something and start realizing how much it's already given you. Gratitude doesn't mean you settle. It means you build with a different spirit, with appreciation, not entitlement. When you're grateful, you don't waste time whining about what's missing. You start maximizing what's present. And that's what separates winners from complainers. Winners work with what they've got and multiply it. Complainers keep talking about what they don't have and stay stuck forever. Every time you complain, you reinforce a mindset of scarcity. You tell your brain that life is unfair, that you've been shortchanged, that others have it better than you. and your brain listens. It starts filtering your reality to prove that story true. You begin to see only the flaws, only the setbacks, only the pain. Gratitude flips that script completely. When you start counting your blessings, you train your mind to look for what's right instead of what's wrong. You rewire your focus from lack to abundance. Suddenly, instead of saying, I have nothing, you begin to see, I have enough to begin. Instead of thinking, I can't do this, you say, I've already overcome worse. Gratitude builds mental strength. It's not some soft emotional concept. It's a discipline of perception. It's a daily practice of seeing the good even when life throws you bad. That's how resilient people live. They don't ignore pain. They just refuse to let it blind them to the blessings that still exist. The habit of complaining is easy because it feeds your ego. It gives you an excuse. It lets you blame circumstances, people, or timing instead of confronting your own responsibility. But gratitude kills excuses. When you start acknowledging your blessings, you realize that you have resources, gifts, and opportunities that can move you forward. You just haven't been using them. Gratitude removes your ability to play victim because it exposes how much power you already have. You can't say, I can't do it when you've been given help, time, skills, and people who believe in you. You can't say your life is unfair when you start listing every time you were protected, guided, or helped in ways you didn't even deserve. Gratitude forces you to see your own potential clearly. And that scares some people because it removes all the excuses they've been hiding behind. But if you truly want to grow, you have to trade your complaints for appreciation. You can't build a better life with bitterness in your heart. The strongest people aren't the ones with the easiest lives. They're the ones who've learned how to find light even in darkness. Gratitude doesn't make life perfect. It makes you powerful in the middle of imperfection. It gives you perspective. You start realizing that every hardship taught you something valuable. Every rejection redirected you. Every loss made you tougher. Gratitude transforms pain into purpose. It turns suffering into strength. When you stop complaining about the storm and start thanking it for teaching you how to sail, you stop being afraid of life's chaos. You become adaptable, calm, and unshakable. That's what gratitude does. It gives you control over your emotions. It teaches you to respond instead of react, to focus instead of panic, to build instead of break down. Gratitude also creates momentum. When you appreciate small things, big things begin to follow. That's because gratitude multiplies your blessing. The more you notice and appreciate, the more your life seems to give you. It's not magic, it's mindset. When you're grateful, you become more optimistic, more confident, more open to opportunities. People want to work with you. Doors start opening and success starts chasing you. Not because you got lucky, but because your energy changed. Complainers repel blessings. They drain energy, push people away, and close themselves off from growth. But a grateful person radiates something magnetic. They attract positivity because they live with awareness, humility, and appreciation. That's why gratitude is not just a spiritual idea. It's a practical key to success. The person who sees value in what they already have is the same person who can create value in anything they touch. At the end of the day, gratitude is a decision. You can choose to focus on what's wrong, or you can choose to focus on what's right. You can waste another year complaining about your life, or you can wake up tomorrow and start building from what you already have. You might not have everything you want yet, but you have everything you need to begin. The question is, what are you doing with it? Life doesn't owe you more blessings until you start respecting the ones you already have. So stop complaining. Stop counting problems. Start counting problems. Start counting blessings. Every breath, every morning, every chance to try again, that's a blessing. And the moment you start truly seeing that, your entire world begins to change. Gratitude doesn't just improve your mood. It transforms your mindset, your results, and your destiny. Because the truth is, blessed people aren't the luckiest. They're the most grateful. 6, the moment you stop complaining and start acting, life begins to respond.